All right, so we're going to jump straight into the analysis for Shadowlands Afterlives Revendreth. Now, I want to make this clear from the very get-go to anyone that might be commenting on this video later on YouTube or anyone in chat right now. If the only reason you wish to see or wish to watch this video is to see the animatic, this is not the video to watch. We are going to pause a hell of a lot. We are going to make a shit ton of stops along the way. This really isn't the way to watch this. This really is not the way to watch it. As we go through it, I'm not just going to point out things that I think is, shall we say, relevant to the animatic. I will do what I did with the previous ones as well. I will give you backstory of playing through the zone and knowing what I know now to hopefully explain some of the things that is going on. So that it really does give you a good, clear analysis of what the story is all about. Now, before we even start jumping into this animatic, let me explain what is happening within Revendreth. At the end of the Ardenweald expansion, or the Ardenweald zone, the Winter Queen tells you that the Venthyr are masters of extracting Anima, and that you should go to Denathrius and ask him for some of that Anima for the soul of the forest. The soul of the forest is the mechanism that keeps the jailer Zuval inside the maw. If the heart of the forest falls, the jailer escapes. So you need to go fetch Anima. When you get there, Denathrius is like, well, we don't have Anima, unfortunately. We'll see what we can do. And he's very suave and very arrogant voice, right? We'll see what we can do. One of the things that stands out almost immediately within the Venthyr world, the Revendreth society, is that they have an extreme class system, right? So they have upper class, and the upper class lives in absolute wealth, and they go into the castles, and they have all these lavish parties. And then they have the middle class. The middle class tend to be the working folk, and then they have the poor fucks who just basically they're slaves to their masters, if you will. And you see in this animatic, it is actually shown to us that one of the ways in which they keep them working is with this promise of consistent Anima. Now, you find out also later that the Venthyr is actually, Denathrius is actually directly responsible for the Anima drought within the Shadowlands. He has been hoarding Anima for, well, I want to say centuries, but we don't know exactly how long he's been hoarding it for, but it's a long time. He sits on crazy amounts of Anima and he's been keeping that Anima for a while. So with that said, let's jump in. The setup here, the setting the stage, and especially as we get later into it, what I'm in love with when it comes to this is it starts off and you almost expect you're getting ready for this extremely emotional, aggressive sort of video, but it's only the beginning. It leads you into it, and then it takes a complete 180. So to the writers of these, Terran Gregory, amazing. It is amazing the contrast that you managed to create within these. One of the reasons I think it was absolutely amazing that Blizzard used Garrosh here and instead, or didn't decide to use maybe some random character, is orcish screams are iconic. You know when an orc is screaming. Even if I removed the CC, you would still know an orc's screams. And orcs have a very distinctive scream when it's anger or when it's pain. And you can feel that pain. You can hear the pain that Garrosh is going through as this is happening to him. All right, so this is the first. I guess for someone who doesn't have the beta, this will be your first reveal of what is effectively anima extraction. They have these everywhere. So all over Revendreth, they have these cages, right? So all over Revendreth, they have these cages with people sitting inside these cages, and they keep extracting the anima from them. This is why they say the Venthyr are masters at extraction of anima. They have found ways to extract every last drop of your anima and then leave you. They know how to get you to the point where you almost die, and then they leave you to recuperate. And then once you've built up enough anima again, they start the whole process once again. This is what I meant with the contrast. Listen to this, right? We just had these blood-boiling screams, these unsettling, unnerving screams from Garrosh, and then it's this beautiful orchestral music that starts playing, and you really do get to see this society that they've built that is advanced and really do pretend to be very suave, if you will. Let's just go back a bit. I love the intro here.
To the good people of Revendreth, it is with optimism that I address you today. Though these are challenging times.
Just FYI, you learn rather quickly in Revendreth that Sire Denathrius isn't honest with his people. He knows exactly what's going on, but unlike the other leaders. So the other leaders were honest with their people, the other leaders of the Covenants. Their Covenants knew exactly what was going on. Sire Denathrius told them nothing. They don't know why this anima drought is happening. They don't even know that it is about souls not coming to Revendreth. He's constantly playing games with everything he does. And you learn that throughout because at the start of Revendreth, FYI, spoiler alert, at the start of Revendreth, you actually start by following him, right? You start by following him, and only then do you switch over to the other side. But while you're following him, he's constantly playing games with you. He's never straightforward. When you hear him speak, when you ask him a question, it's always with an angle that he answers you. He's always playing another game.
Firstly, I assure you that our holy mission to help the most violent and wicked souls atone for their sins is...
Alright, so they say that's their mission, but that's really not the impression you get when you play through Revendreth. When you play through Revendreth, it becomes very clear that their original mission of allowing horrible souls to atone for their sins so that they may once again move along, that has been corrupted for quite some time. These structures, the structure that you see on the screen right here, they exist all over. They have all manner of anima extraction devices. And they're also not, if you really do piss them off, they'll just drain you entirely. They will 100% just drain all of your anima and kill you. Not only that, but more to the point of how they save souls, there's this giant system that you have to go through in order to eventually be saved. So just to explain to you how this works, when you arrive in Revendreth, you are presented, you make your own sin stone, effectively. Your sin stone is then imbued with all of your sins, everything that you did wrong. And your sin stone quite literally punishes you. Now, the sin stones have very weird and interesting things. So, for example, you can't actually defeat a Venthyr without destroying their sin stone. They are linked to their sin stones. You actually learn this as you're playing through the Venthyr campaign. There's this one while you're still on the side of Denathrius, there's this one, I believe, the Accuser. You have to go slay the Accuser, but in order to kill the Accuser, you first have to destroy her Sin Stone, because the Sin Stone is linked to the soul. So if you just kill her, she'll just respawn at the Sin Stone. So you have to destroy the Sin Stone first. But this Sin Stone is then used in all manner of ways to torture you, to let you overcome whatever is troubling you. Now, here's the thing. They view arrogance as a sin. If there's one thing the Venthyr smack of, like they stink of it, it's arrogance. All of them are fucking arrogant. They all think they're better than everyone else. Even the Accuser who believes that she has overcome every sin that there is to overcome, is arrogant about the fact that she's overcome every single sin that she's overcome, or that she can overcome. And then there's these really weird things. There's a hunt that you actually participate in. It's the Great Hunt, the Sin Hunt, where they send you into these dark forests, and then they actually have hunters chasing you down with dogs. And they hunt you and your sins. This is what the Venthyr does. This is just some of what the Venthyr does. I don't want to give away everything, but just to give you guys an example of how their holy mission to cleanse souls of their sins, how they actually do that. It's not a good process. It's not like they talk to you and they put you in front of a psychologist and they go, oh, look, let's talk about this stuff. No. Let's hunt you down like a fucking animal and kill you so that you can atone for your sins.
Is and always will be our utmost priority. Our rituals are effective. Our judgment.
You can see the pain, and what I love about what Blizzard is doing here. So he says our rituals are effective, and he starts off by saying, right, cleansing these souls of their sins will always be our utmost priority. Right? Our rituals are effective, and our judgment keen but fair. But what does Blizzard show when he says it? This does not look like fairness. This does not look like a race that wishes to save those souls. This is joy. This is joy in the suffering of others. Right? That's what this is. So Blizzard is telling us that that was not what they did. That was never what they did.
Fair.
And obviously they can feel the anima flowing through them as this anima is being stolen. Now there is something that I do need to point out here, that I genuinely do not know why this is taking place. But the anima in Revendreth is red. I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why it's red. Everywhere else, the anima is blue. Except for in Revendreth. Here the anima is red. Which may actually be, it might be from the ritual, of course it might be from the ritual, but it could also be that the anima that they extract in Revendreth is more potent. In other words, the anima that they extract might be mixed in with actual life energies or something to that effect. So it's a very weird, I don't know, it's very weird that it's red here and everywhere else it's fucking blue. But anyway, so they're stealing the anima here.
We, Venthyr, remain committed to bringing eventual redemption to all who desire it. It is through your faithful work that even...
But they just showed us that that's not true, and they're going to show us a bit later on, again, that that's not true. They're not really committed to saving these souls. They're using these souls as batteries, and you actually see this in Revendreth as well, just FYI. As you're questing through it, they just use these souls as batteries. That's it. They don't really spend a hell of a lot of time saving those souls. They most of the time just drain them of their anima and then leave them alone again.
Even the most evil and prideful beings may ultimately...
Prideful beings. The fact that the fact that Sire Denathrius can use the word prideful beings without bursting out laughing is insane.
Ultimately be spared an eternity in the maw. Unfortunately, of late, the flow...
Oh, that just wanted to point out. Sorry about that. Just wanted to point out that there is actually a point to what he says there, being spared and eternity within the maw. So when you go to the Venthyr, when you get sent to Revendreth, you have basically two options: repent or get punished, get fucked, effectively. So if you repent, you do have the option to join another covenant. So you can go back to the Arbiter to be placed in yet another covenant, right? If you don't repent, you get sent to the maw. So that's really, or you could stay with the Venthyr, but that's really your only two options here. And I have a feeling that they send far more people to the maw than what they actually keep for themselves.
Of such hubris-ridden souls has virtually ceased. And as a result, Anima, our most precious resource, is in dwindling supply.
It's not in dwindling supply, which again is why I do these analysis in a way of also spoiling a lot of the story so that you know what it is that you're looking at. It's not in short supply. They have shit tons of Anima. In fact, they have an overflow of Anima that he's going to send all the way to the maw. He's already made plans to send it to the maw, and you actually learn that that is their plan. That is what they're trying to do. But he is using the Anima drought to almost control his people, to put his people under his control, to keep them obedient, if you will.
Even we, the faithful who extract the Anima, have not been spared the effects of this mysterious drought.
He is lying, obviously. Even we, the faithful who extract the Anima. So not everyone in Revendreth has the ability to extract Anima. This is something that... So Denathrius has these medallions that he gives out. These medallions literally is an extension of his own power. Some of his own power is within these medallions. It's insane. But these medallions are given to like 7 different individuals, I believe, within Revendreth. And each one of these basically control the amount of Anima that comes in and out. So they all control what happens, and they have been spared the Anima drought. They are swimming in this stuff, but obviously not openly.
Yes, we still have our old reliables, our workhorses.
Okay, so this was during the animatic. When we watched this for the reaction, my jaw fucking dropped. Yes, we still have our old reliables, our workhorses. In other words, he's basically... He's contradicting himself. He started off saying that, you know, they have this holy mission to cleanse people. Where the fuck did he say that? Always our utmost priority. Okay, so to help the most violent and wicked souls atone for their sins. That's what he said there. But that's not what happens here. So it is clear that that was never their goal. That was never their intent. They take the most powerful of souls, and then they keep them, and they keep extracting. So they have basically built an extremely reliable system of Anima, so that Anima will always be supplied to Revendreth. This is why Revendreth isn't actually running out of Anima, because they have all of these backup systems. Now, here's where things get truly fucking disgusting. I say to you, at the end of the Ardenweald quest campaign, the Winter Queen tells you that Sire Denathrius, the Venthyr, have always been very equipped at extracting Anima. You should go to Sire Denathrius and ask him for some of the Anima. The fact that she knows this, that she says this, do we truly believe that she doesn't exactly know how he's getting that Anima? Do we truly believe that she has no idea why Sire Denathrius just always seems to have some fucking Anima? She knows. She doesn't care. Because at the end of the day, it has to happen. They need that anima. And if some souls have to suffer for all eternity in order to give them enough anima so that they never truly die, then so be it. Who gives a shit? Just once again, I believe that the Winter Queen can suck a dick. She is evil AF. 100%.
Yet I fear they will not be enough. We are doing everything in our power to gather more anima.
So yes, they did start, and Blizzard just shows it here, but you'll see it as well as you play through Revendreth. They did start like asking all of their denizens to start giving some of their anima. So everyone has to offer up some anima, but all of them have different ways of extracting anima. So they extract some to try and stay alive, and then they have to give some away. But you also see how Denathrius, they pay tithes. I think actually there is a guy called the Tithe Lord in Revendreth, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's his actual title, the Tithe Lord, and he actually expects your anima tithe. So that they don't basically decommission your entire town. So every single town, unlike so in Ardenweald, we had these different groves that required a lot of anima in order to sustain itself. In Revendreth, there's different towns, and towns require anima in order to function, in order to do what they need to do. But you immediately see how these different towns are treated. The upper class towns get the anima that they require. The lower or middle class towns, they get fucked over. They have to give away most of the anima that they manage to extract. And even the anima that they manage to extract isn't enough to sustain them, and they still have to give it away. Because the Tithe Lord doesn't actually care. They don't look at a percentage of what you have to hand over. He wants an actual amount. And if you don't reach that amount, you hand over everything. So it means that you starve of anima.
But, simply put, we must all, rich and poor alike, make sacrifices for the greater good.
That's such a proper evil thing to say, and I think Blizzard chose it on purpose exactly for that. Because we've all seen this in the movies. They love doing this, right? The evil capitalist billionaire who goes, rich and poor alike must make sacrifices, but then it really is only the poor that makes the sacrifices, and regardless of how you feel about that, or how you feel it actually functions within the real world, Blizzard used this because it is impactful, because they know that it is something that we'll relate with, and it will speak to us on an emotional level, because we've been brought up to know those lines. We've all heard those lines before.
Therefore, I have decided to implement a strategy of conservation and rationing.
They don't do this within the castle, though. Within Castle Nathria, you see it's a free-for-all. They have these vats with anima flowing in them.
Which should keep the anima flowing to those most in need.
What is interesting, and what is a genuine contrast to the other zones. The other zones require anima in order to survive. The denizens of those zones don't require as much. So, for example, in the Kyrians and Bastion, their denizens don't really use the anima for anything, but their constructs do. Their different temples do, but the denizens themselves don't really do much with the anima. So Blizzard really did, as Isolith said earlier in the video, Blizzard is laying down the groundwork for a vampiric race within World of Warcraft, one that isn't just yet another High Elf. Right? Because if Blizzard went with Sanliane, they would have to just be another High Elf race. But if Blizzard went with something like the Venthyr, they could introduce the Sanliane fantasy without it actually being just another High Elf function. Because while they look elvish, they aren't, in fact. They do look very different, right? So Blizzard is really doubling down on this, and you'll see it gets even more so later down the line. But yeah, just wanted to make sure that you guys know what's interesting about the Venthyr is how they use the anima. They physically use it. So they don't just exist, or it's not just their zone that requires it, they require it. The zone, not so much. Which is really, really strange. The zone doesn't require it, unlike all of the other zones. The zone itself doesn't require the anima, but they do. And then something that is actually more interesting that I just realized playing through the Maldraxxus storyline, they barely ever mention the Anima drought in the Maldraxxus storyline. It's almost as if Maldraxxus doesn't give a fuck about Anima. Like, I think it's mentioned 3 or 4 times where they'll use Anima for constructs and stuff, but they don't seem to have a very real use for it outside of just, you know, some of their zones requiring a little bit of it to exist. Here you see Blizzard setting up, without even saying it necessarily, Blizzard setting up the rebels, the rebellion. So the rebellion is growing, even though there are so many questions I have about the rebellion. The Venthyr, as they're known, the rebels. I don't trust the leader of the rebels in any way, shape, or form, and his name escapes me now. It's Prince Ranethal. Excuse me, yes. Prince Ranethal, I don't trust him at all. Just want to be clear on this. He just looks like a Sire Denathrius 2.0, and also Blizzard did say when the very first time Blizzard introduced Revendreth to us, they concluded the Revendreth with the words, "Are you sure you can trust Prince Ranethal?" Paraphrasing, but Blizzard even asked, "Should we trust Prince Ranethal?" I don't, FYI. But it's nice how Blizzard shows that it is, in fact, the Anima drought that led people to rebel. So it's not some weird thing. Even Prince Ranethal had no problem with how life was going until the Anima drought set in. Like, once the Anima drought started, that's the first time he had a problem with Sire Denathrius. Before that, he was perfectly fine. Didn't really matter.
In this manner, we will keep our people strong and our land healthy, despite the efforts of those who would use this crisis to further their own ends and rebel against the rightful.
So these are actually constructs, these giant winged creatures. They're made of stone and brought to life by Anima. There's a few areas within the challenge where you actually have to feed them. Well, they're not called gargoyles, even though they look like gargoyles. They're not called gargoyles. I can't remember their actual name now, but they have a different name in Revendreth. They're not actually called gargoyles, but they exist all over the walls, and you can feed them Anima, and then they come alive, you know? And some of them are more advanced than the others, right? So some of them are just mindless defenders. They'll just do whatever. But some of them are actually, they have cognitive function. They can think, they can reason. Some of them are leaders. I actually theorized a little bit that some of those leaders, the Stoneborn, the ones on the walls, are their children. So they actually made those. Because it seems like everything has something that they make. Sentient, yes. Thank you very much, Aaron. Yeah, like sentient. Some of them are sentient, whereas others aren't. So some of them are just very mindless, do whatever the fuck.
Structures of our society. Rest assured, we shall bring these miscreants to justice. With fairness and mercy.
Okay, so this is where things get real. The Venthyr cannot exist in the light. There's evidence in Revendreth that the light attacked, right? The light attacked the Shadowlands, and this attack left an entire area of Revendreth completely scorched to fuck. I mean, completely wrecked. Everything in that area is mindless. They've lost all will to think. They simply exist. They're completely scorched. And this is what happens to the Venthyr. And you actually play this small little question where you're taking your soulbind, your very first soulbind. You have to take him to a cave, but you have to stick to the shadows, because every single time he runs into the sun, he starts losing his sanity. And if it reaches 0, he just starts running around like a madman, with not being able to think. This is what happens to the Venthyr whenever they come into contact with sun. or with light rather. So it's not even that they say sun, it's the light that hurts them. Now, they've used this area as a punishment ground. So if you do something that they view as you know, not on board with how they think their society should be done, should be organized, they throw you into this light scorched area, and there you suffer until they think you've suffered enough. It's really up to Sire Denathrius. He kind of decides how long you should be there, so they don't really have a justice system, if you will. But it's a pretty cool area to go through and to see how these Withered are trying to figure out how to survive in this area. And there's gangs and stuff that started to build up in this area as well, who's learned how to stick to the shadows and kind of become the bullies of the area. So, pretty cool thing, but it's just interesting to me that with fairness and mercy, of course, again, the lie. Blizzard really is taking this entire animatic to drill it into us. Do not trust this guy. Do not trust this guy.
Mercy, of course. I am, after all, nothing if not compassionate.
That is just such a powerful line. The voice actor for Sire Denathrius is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I am, after all, nothing if not compassionate. It's like, what a brilliantly delivered line. Just, and it really does give you the fucking creeps. Like, you hear him say that and you're like, I don't like you saying that, because I don't get, that's not the impression I fucking got from that, right?
My loyal subjects, we are doing all that can be done to stimulate Anima production and fulfill Revendreth's honorable...
Look at him, actually, this is how compassionate he is. He is filling his cup with Anima in front of a starving servant. Look at the servant's eyes. Blizzard really is almost showing a sort of blood elf reliance on the Sunwell. I don't know if you guys picked up on the same thing, but there's an addiction to this, right? There's an absolute addiction to the suffering. Or to this Anima.
Purpose. Remain devout and resolute, and know that I will lead us all into a brighter future.
Once again, the only real thing I can say here is, well fucking done. Did this one give as many takeaways and as many nuggets as the previous ones? No. I think this one was way more meant to be a sort of introduction to the complex nature of Venthyr society, rather than it just existing as a sort of lore explosion, if you will, like a lore spoiler explosion or something like that. So my personal opinion is this is one of my favorite ones so far, just because of what it was, the contrast and the brilliance within the storytelling. Can we all just take a moment to just give Blizzard a fucking hand, pat on the back, and Terran Gregory, you and your team, thank you. These were amazing. Now, please give us the more one. We know you have a more one. We know you have a more one. You would be remiss if you didn't have a more one. And that's the one, all of us, and I am speaking for all the world, all 7 billion of the world. That is the one we want to see. Please. So what do you guys think? What are your thoughts? Let me know.